Alrighty, well, I'm eating donuts. I am. Don't they look good? Alright. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, as I was saying before I got interrupted because my phone cut out on me because I ran out of memory, I'm not sure what's happening with Arthur Pawlowski. He's a minister that lives out west, I believe, in Calgary, either Calgary or Edmonton. One of those two big cities in Alberta, anyway. And he's been in and out of jail quite a bit because of all the COVID stuff, because he didn't go along with it, and he still held church even during the mandate, during the lockdowns and so on. And the police actually showed up at his church. Well, one thing that you should know about Canadian law is that it's actually illegal in Canada to disrupt a worship service. It's actually illegal. If you go into a church in Canada and you disrupt the service intentionally, I'm not talking like, maybe you got a crying baby or something like that, or maybe you have a medical emergency. Maybe you're sitting there in the pew and you take a seizure or something. I'm not talking about that. But if you go in and you intentionally be disruptive during a church service, and you interrupt the church service and be disruptive, that's actually a crime in Canada. There's a specific law against that. I don't know if that's true in the United States or in other places. I know in the United States, of course, you're constitutionally guaranteed freedom of religion, freedom to worship or not to worship. And if you do worship, freedom to worship whatever God you believe in and to worship that God in your own way. I know that's true. I don't know. But I mean, here we do have a law specifically against disrupting a religious service. And when the police came in to Arthur Pawlowski's church, they made a point of coming in during a church service, and they did it under the guise of public health. They brought a public health inspector with them. Arthur Pawlowski would not allow them to come and shut down the service, and so on. And he threw them out of the church. And so, of course, then they were gunning for him. And he was in and out of jail quite a bit. And I don't know what the story is now. I know somebody tried to burn his house down at one point. When he was in jail, the guards in the jail, and you can be sure they were getting this from higher up. This wouldn't be something of their initiative or their initiating. But they were trying to entice other prisoners to murder Arthur Pawlowski. They were actually saying that they would leave his cell door unlocked, and if you go in there and take him out, we'll make it worth your while. That sort of a thing, And the prisoners, thank goodness, were more decent than the jail administration, than the correctional officers, and definitely more decent than the people who put the correctional officers up to that, because they were adamant that there was no way they were going to harm that man. They were not going to harm Arthur Pawlowski. But our government actually tried to have him murdered. Now tell me that doesn't remind you of the goings-on behind the Iron Curtain, in the 1950s and 60s and 70s and 80s. Yeah, anyway, but the debanking thing is another thing that's happening. When I got that letter today, it did cross my mind, because I got a letter from the bank today. It's kind of funny, actually, because they said, as a valued client, We wish to inform you that we're raising the interest rate on your line of credit from 6.5% to 11.5%, commencing the end of May, commencing the 26th day of May. Good thing I'm getting that paid down. It's a good thing. But I couldn't help but to think that's what they do to a valued client. I hate to think what they'd do if I wasn't valued. And really, I know I'm not valued anyway. I know that. But the thing is, I was kind of half expecting it to be a letter telling me I was going to be debanked, because that is a thing they're doing here too now. If you have certain political opinions, if you don't have the right, and I'll put that in quotes, the right. I'm holding the phone with the other hand, but these are air quotes. It's just half an air quote, but it's meant to be a full air quote. Unless you have the right, and by right I don't mean politically right. I mean right as in correct political ideology and ideas and opinions, then they'll debank you. This is a thing that's happening here. What you're seeing happening here in Canada, and what's happening over in the British Isles, in England and Ireland and Scotland, and Wales, what's happening in those places, all that you're seeing happening, and it's even worse over there. It's bad here, but it's worse over there. It's steadily moving in that direction here, mind you, but it isn't there yet. But all this stuff that you're seeing, that's what you've got to look forward to if globalism wins. That's how virtually everybody on the face of the earth will be living, at least the ones they allow to live. They've made it clear they want to purge 95% of us. So if they choose not to murder you, because you may be of some use to them, that sounds familiar too. That's what they used to do in the concentration camps in Germany and in the German-conquered countries. You got off the train and they give you a look. They give you a good looking over. They decide if they thought you were fit to work. Those who were fit to work were told to go one way. Those who weren't fit to work were told to go the other way. And the other way led to the gas chambers. A lot of parallels there, And the funny thing is, these people, these globalists, these left-leaning globalist type people, will actually call people like me Nazis. They'll actually do that. They'll call us Nazis. And what they want to do is basically a repeat of what happened then. If you support a 95% purging of the population, then you're far more leaning in that direction than I am. I mean, I'd like to stop celebrating homosexuality and transsexuality. I would like to stop it being a requirement in society that we celebrate these things. I would like to stop affirmative action programs and all that stuff. I'd like to stop that. I'd like just for everybody to have an equal shot regardless of who they are. I think that would be fair. I don't think that minorities should be discriminated against like they used to be. I don't think that's right. But I don't think that it's right to discriminate against the white people now, to somehow think you're going to make up for it by doing that. And I don't think we need rainbow crosswalks and pride parades and an entire summer dedicated to homosexual stuff and to celebrating homosexuality and all that. I think that's insane. I think we need not to target those people to be abused. We need to allow those people to have every chance anyone else has to make it in this life. And beyond that, we don't owe those people a damn thing. We just owe it to them to let them live their lives. That's all, which we never used to do. There was a time we didn't do that, and that was wrong of us. But now we need to learn from our mistakes and to do better. I agree with that, but I don't agree with reverse discrimination, or now we have to go to the opposite extreme and celebrate all this stuff. But if you look at it, everybody, no matter who they are, if there's going to be a 95% purge of the population, that's going to cover all the minorities. It's going to cover all the different sexual orientations and everything else. It's not going to be just confined to one group or another group, because it wouldn't work. If it was, you'd never get a 95% purge if you did that. And so, you know, and then do you really want to be one of the 5% that's kept around just because you're of some value to work? Because all they're going to do is work you to death. They're going to work you until you can't work anymore, and then they're going to kill you too. So that's what the globalists have in mind. So like I say, wherever you are, look at the things that are happening here, and even more so, look at the things that are happening in Europe, especially in the British Isles right now, because we're getting a small taste of that here, but they're way ahead of us. We're moving in that direction, but they're way ahead of us. And but just look at that and ask yourself: Is this what I want? Is this how I want to live? Do I want the police to come to my door and take me to jail because I posted something on Facebook to say that I'm not in favor of uncontrolled immigration, or to say that I'm really not keen on rainbow crosswalks, that I don't really think rainbow crosswalks are a necessary thing, or whatever, you say that, and you get a visit, you get taken away. Is that how you want to live? Anyway, bottom line is, a lot of good people have suffered a great deal, and have actually been hated by a large number of the people they're suffering for. But even Jesus, look what happened to Jesus. Not that any of us are as good as Jesus. I'm just saying, if it was good enough for the Son of God, I guess it's good enough for the rest of us. And Jesus did say, if they hate you, they'll hate. If they hated me, they're going to hate you. Just imagine how that. If they hated me, then they're going to hate you. So he did say that. He told us the score. He didn't sugarcoat it. He told it like it is. And that's what we're experiencing now, anyway. These people who hate us because we have a different point of view, a different point of view than their point of view, and they want to jail us or purge us from the earth, or whatever. And then they turn around and say we're Nazis. Personally, I'm not advocating that we lock up or kill anyone, except for a few high-placed criminals that have instituted things that have resulted in people dying and in people losing everything they've got and so on. I think there's a few people that, stay at the Crowbar Hotel wouldn't be out of line for them. And there are even a few cases where 6 feet of rope and a trap door is in order. But, like I say, I'm not talking about going after entire groups of people, though. And I'm talking about people who are complicit in crimes against humanity. People like Anthony Fauci, I think, did spending the rest of his life at the Crowbar Hotel wouldn't be a bad thing for him. I think that's exactly what he needs. But anyway, but still, I'm not advocating that we kill or jail everybody, 95% of the population. That's what, and then enslave the rest. That does sound an awful lot like Nazism, and in fact, it's even more radical than Nazism, because the Nazis didn't want to get rid of 95% of the people. They wanted to get rid of 100% of a few groups. They wanted to get rid of 100% of the disabled, 100% of the Jews, 100% of the gypsies, 100% of the homosexuals. They did want to do that. And that was wrong. That was wrong. But that still wouldn't have amounted to 95% of the population, you know, which is what the globalists want to do, all in under the guise of climate change, of man-made climate change. They want to purge 95% of the people. And the funny thing is, the people are going along with it. It's just weird. That's all. It's just really weird, the number of people who are going along with their own destruction. You know? I mean, you know, things like that just baffle me. There's things in human nature that baffle me. It's like when I see the gay people wearing the T-shirts, "Queers for Palestine," you know, and I think, do you have any idea what these people would do to you? You know what they do in their own area, the people like you know, like, you know, a guy like me is going to openly say that he doesn't like rainbow crosswalks and pride parades. Those people will string you up, you know, because that's their religion. Their religion tells them to do that, and they will. They obey their religion. They take the word of Allah very seriously. You know, a lot more serious than most Christians take the word of Yahweh. So, you know, yeah, these are not people to fool around with. And you know, when some gay guy is wearing a T-shirt that "Queers for Palestine" or whatever, it's like, come on. You know, you do realize that these people would not think twice about getting rid of you. You know, but then they turn around and call me a hateful bigot. You know, that's like, yeah, I don't want to kill you. They do. I would really like it if you'd stop painting the crosswalks all over town up in rainbow colors. I would appreciate that if you'd stop doing that. But I don't want to kill you. You know, I think you have a right to live. I don't hate you. I just would prefer not to be forced to continuously have it shoved down my throat, you know, and be celebrating a thing that I don't identify with. That's all. You know. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Anyway, this is what's going on here. I don't know where Rocky is. He's having a lie down somewhere, I'm sure, outside here. He's got a few places he likes to go. We'll have a look and see if we can find him. He'll be around here somewhere. Oh, I found him. There he is. Look at him there. He's laying behind my chair. There he is. I hope you can see him. There he is. I'm moving the phone around because I don't know where you'd be able to see him. There he is. All right. We'll talk to you later.